Now when I'm putting these little silicone inlays into UV resin, I do cover the silicone inlay first so that you minimise bubbles, but they get quite slippery. They're difficult to see, and of course I dropped it. Hey, welcome back to my channel. It's Wendy here from Toonpish Crafts and I hope you're doing okay. Now you may remember a couple of weeks ago I interrupted my own video and showed you or shared with you the new pigments from the Tiny Turner, Holographic Chameleon pigments. They are on pre-order only, and I'll go through the details of the pre-order during the video because it's too much information for me to stand in front of the camera. And this is about the 20th take and I just cannot get the words out, so I'll do that in the video. But I have been so overwhelmed with the response to the pre-order. It has blown me away and I cannot say thank you enough, really. The response has been phenomenal. Claire did put a video out on Saturday with the colours. There are a couple of other crafters as well that also have the packs already. And they will be putting out videos as well. Just to let you know, we haven't sent any pre-orders out. This is just for a couple of packs that I had for a couple of crafter friends. So they are out. Videos will be coming out shortly, I'm sure. But this is my video to show you what the colours are in the pack, and all the other details will be throughout the video. So I hope you enjoy it. So these are the Toonpish Crafts Holographic Chameleon Micas range from the Tiny Turner. I am so over the moon with the response from the pre-order already. The colours that we've got in here are rose gold green, indigo green, green mauve, copper gold, purple magenta and turquoise pink. So if you haven't seen these already, they are holographic, really highly pigmented colours. When Emma sent me all of the test pots to try out, these were the most holographic chameleons that I could find with an intense colour. And Emma said I could choose whichever I wanted to go in the pack. Now I did struggle choosing the colours. My main point was the holographicness. As I was choosing holographic chameleon, they had to be holographic, and a lot of the samples that I had only had a slight holographicness to them. These, however, were the best of the bunch. So let's have a look at each colour separately. So I had a rummage through my mould box and I came out with this mould. It's not the best mould, but it has 6 slots and they're quite nice shaped. As I said, it's not the best mould. It doesn't sit very well. It sags in the middle and the pieces are uneven, but it will work for this trial. First colour I'm using is rose gold green. I'm just going to brush the mica onto the mould and see what they look like with black behind them. I think that is important, especially if you mix it in with other chameleons. Chameleons love black. So the second one I'm going to show you is the indigo green fleck. Now this is not a massive colour shift, but the green is definitely there. And as I said, the holographic in these colours is over the top shimmery, especially in the sunlight. And I will show you that at the end. But I do like this colour. It's a dark purple colour and that is just me completely right there in that pot. So the next one I'm showing you is the green mauve. Now I do like purple, I am a purple girl, and green does seem to be quite the colour for holographics. Practically every pigment I tried out had green in it, so I chose ones that were minimal green because I'm not really a green person, and Claire did make me laugh when she was going on about the fact that I've got green in this pack. Because I'm not a green person, but dark green is quite nice in my opinion, and I think it's fair to add it into the pack for those that like green. But it does have quite a purple and maybe even a turquoise tint to it as well. You can definitely see how holographic these pigments are. The next one I'm going to show you is the copper gold. Now this is a really dark gold. It is more copper than anything else in my opinion, but it has quite a nice light gold jewel effect to it. So the copper is really visible in there, but so is the light gold, and I thought that was really nice. And you can definitely see that hollow in there as well. So this one is purple magenta, and it is definitely a pink purple colour. Now practically all of these pigments have more than just two colours. They may be called green mauve or copper gold, but there are other flecks of colour in there too, as well as that stunning holographic shimmer. And the last one is turquoise pink. Now this is definitely more turquoise than pink. It has that greeny blue appearance to it, which I actually really like. I like turquoise because I like blue. And there's also other colours in there, purple and all sorts. And you can see these colours are absolutely so holographic. They've got that sparkle to them if you turn them to the light. Absolutely stunning colours, in my opinion. So as time is short, for quickness I'm going to use black polyurethane resin from Resin, and I will put the link for that in the description box below, together with everything else I use in this video. With black polyurethane you only get 30 seconds to stir it because it cures in around 40 minutes. Quicker if it's thicker, but it doesn't take long at all. When you're used to waiting 12 hours or 24 hours for epoxy to cure, and this is less than an hour, it definitely makes a difference. Now you can see here I'm playing around with these scales. These are new scales, and I figured they were actually the same as the ones had been using that were now really stained, old and well worn. So I bought these new scales thinking they were exactly the same. That was my error. They are not exactly the same. They do not have an extra decimal place on the grams, and I am used to having 2 decimal places on the grams, and it was really annoying me that I couldn't get a better measurement other than grams. It didn't have that 2 decimal places, and I really am used to that, having accurate measurements for my resin. So I don't think I'll be using these new ones very much at all. They might go in the kitchen instead. I have now in hindsight gone back to my other scales, the old, really worn out, really disgustingly filthy scales that have 2 decimal points, and they are now my favourite. So as I said, you only get 30 seconds to stir this polyurethane resin, and I only make up a tiny amount at the time. There's nothing worse, I think, than resin going off in the cup before you've managed to pour it. So I make up a small amount, pour it, and if I don't have enough, I make up some more. So you can see what I'm doing. I'm filling up the moulds. I do use isopropyl alcohol to get rid of any surface bubbles, and I leave it to cure. Now I was really impatient, and this is only half an hour after I poured this polyurethane, so the pieces are still soft, but this is rose gold green and the colours are stunning. You can see the colour shift there and the holographic, and I'm going to demold them in the same way that I poured them. So this is indigo green fleck. Now it hasn't got much of a green fleck, but that indigo is stunning. Moving on to green and mauve. It is more of a green than a mauve, but oh my goodness, when you twist it, that mauve is gorgeous. It's quite a blue mauve. So number 4 is the copper gold. There is still a green flick in there as well, but the majority of the colour is copper gold. And the purple magenta is a very mauvey purple, absolutely beautiful holographic colour. And finally we have the turquoise pink. And this has so many shades in it. You can see when I bend the piece how many shades there are in it. But the holographic effect does give you a shimmer of all different colours anyway. And I was just messing around here because they were so soft. I had no idea you could actually bend polyurethane like this before it was hardened. So I was just having fun. So this is what the colours look like when they are brushed onto the mould. The holographicness of them needs daylight, sunlight, bright light for you to actually get the full effect. But even just indoors under a normal household light, you can see those holographic colours. And as I said before, the dual effect isn't the only colours that are in these pieces, and I'm sure a lot of you will see other colours as well. So I also wanted to see what these colours look like under a clear glass of resin. So I'm going to use some UV resin, that's Let's Resin UV resin, clear hard type. And I'm going to lay down a clear layer of UV resin in the mould and then add a little silicone inlay and then colour the back in the colours and add a thin layer of black resin on the back. Now you may be aware that I sell little silicone inlays on toonpish.com. I have what you call pick and mix, where you can pick all manner of tiny little inlays and they're £1 each. I am continually making different types, and this one is one that is very new to my pick and mix, and that's satin. And I thought it was just so sweet. Now I'm going to do all 6 of these pieces with all 6 colours in exactly the same order. I may not be making them in the same order, but the colours will be going into the moulds in the same order so that we know at the end, and we can see at the end, the difference between dusting the mould and having the colour underneath a clear resin coat. I know I'm doing this backwards, but the colours will be underneath the clear resin. I'm not going to put you through all of this because this video will become too long, but I will show you the little inlays that I'm putting in. And this one is a little paw. It's just a tiny puppy paw. It comes in 2 parts and you can detach them if you wish. Now when I'm putting these little silicone inlays into UV resin, I do cover the silicone inlay first so that you minimise bubbles, but they get quite slippery. They're difficult to see, and of course I dropped it. Now it's covered in resin, so it's going to be sticky, and it went into the resin upside down, so now it's got resin on both sides. And although I tried to put it back in, I figured that really I needed to clean it off before I put it into the resin, so it didn't have resin on both sides of it. So I gave it a little bit of a clean. I then covered the front again, and this time trying really hard not to drop the little inlay, I placed it where I wanted it to go. They definitely do say more haste, less speed, don't they? So just take it easy. The next little inlay I'm using is a skull in a moon, and I did snip off the back of this so it fitted in the mould better, but the original didn't have that nick out of the back. Now for this next one I'm using 2 tiny micro inlays. I have a dragonfly and a butterfly. In case you're wondering why I'm putting the inlays in these pieces, it's because they give depth and light changing colour to the colours behind them. It's not just a flat colour. These wing type pieces were actually one mould that I've cut in half and snipped them so they fit in each half of this mould. But the detail on these little wing type pieces is exquisite. And I had to think about which way I picked them up to put them in the mould. This tiny one is a flower patch that I have that again I've cut so that it will fit into the mould area. So all 6 of these pieces now have some kind of inlay inside that will diffract the light differently and should show the colours to their full potential. When all these are cured completely, I can take the little inlays out. They come out really easily generally, but all of them have left really beautiful indentations in the resin that should be had a colour, and you should see it from the opposite side. And I'm happy with how they've come out. Again, I'm going to use all of the colours in the same location. I'm using some isopropyl alcohol because all the resin is completely cured. There's no stickiness to it at all. So by using the alcohol, you can move the powder around and get a decent coverage. When the alcohol evaporates, it leaves the powder where you put it. And when they're all completely dry, then I can back them in black resin. So I'm now mixing up my 2-part epoxy resin. I'm using Let's Resin 2-part epoxy resin, which is my go-to resin. And I'm using their black pigment paste, which I've already mixed into a smaller amount of resin and added it to the larger amount. Making sure it's completely mixed, I then use a pipette to add it to the mould. This is quite time consuming. I'm not a great lover of pipettes, to be honest, but it is more accurate than trying to pour in with a cup. I do prefer using squeezy bottles with needle tips. I don't know why I didn't this time. I just grabbed a pipette. Anyway, I got the job done, and that's the most important thing. So the following day, I can demold these little pieces, the pendant pieces. Now the mould, as I said, isn't great. It doesn't sit very well with weight, and the colours do run together. But I'm going to try and demold them so we can compare the dusted to the layered pieces. While I struggle to demold these pieces that have run into each other, and they're really going to need a good clean up. So even though I do usually show you all the demolding, I think on this occasion I'll clean them up and bring you back in when they're all nice and neat and tidy. Now I did actually have quite a lot of black resin left, so I made use of it and I poured it into this little character mould. It's a matte candle mould, but I covered the mould first with the rose gold green. That does actually have kind of a pinkish tint to it as well. And I thought the green would go really well with this little character. Isn't he so cute? Absolutely adorable. And that colour, even though it's on a matte mould, still gives the shimmer. I did colour his eyes and go over some of the details with a green pen just to highlight the green. These are what the pieces look like once they're all cleaned up, and you can see the difference between dusting the mould and having the colour behind a clear window. They are all really, really sparkly, really holographic and super colorated. And I don't actually think the colorated is a word. And I am quite drawn to that green mauve. The gold is a beautiful, bright gold. Purple magenta is a beautiful pinky colour. And the turquoise has that purple fleck to it and a pink fleck and all sorts of flecks in there. So if you don't know already, these powders are on a pre-order only until the 1st of July 2025. Anyone putting in an order on toonpish.com for these powders will receive a 10% discount off the price. It is already up there. You don't need a code to get your 10% off. If you are a member of the toonpish.com website, then you will accumulate a 5% discount going forward in a point scheme where you can redeem that on your next purchase. So that's kind of equivalent to 15% off the price. It's a loyalty point system. I hope I'm making myself clear here. If you order anything with your pre-order pigments, it will all get sent out at the same time in July. All the pre-orders will be sent out in July. I think these colours are absolutely gorgeous. I love them, but then I would because I chose them, because I love them. Emma's pigments are stunningly high-end pigments. At the moment, we're only selling the pack of 6 on the website. Next month, we will bring it in singles. So if you want to order singles, then they will be available. Together with 2 other colours that we didn't put in the pack, they will be coming out in July as well. If you have any questions about these or any of Emma's colours, do let me know via the website or making a comment in the section below the video. I try really hard to get back to every single comment, and I do appreciate every one of you that watches my videos. If you haven't subscribed already, maybe you would consider doing so. It doesn't cost a thing and it really helps my channel out. Before you go, I just want to show you what the colours look like when all 6 of them are on one 3D piece. So I made a huge Africa with loads of animals on it, and this is what it looks like with all 6 colours together. Obviously I've put the green at the back for the background because it's my least favourite colour, but they definitely all complement each other in this pack. And when they're in the sunshine or the light, the holographicness of these pieces just shines. It shimmers. It's stunning. Anyway, thanks for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this. Come back and see me next week because you never know what I'm going to be up to. I never know what I'm going to be up to. Have a great week. Happy crafting and bye for now.